dysfunction, abandonment, loneliness, dark sides of religion, abuse, addiction, lack of boundaries, sexual shame, physical shame, mental shame, emotional shame, betrayal, anger, loss, and grief. These were all the words swimming around in my mind when contemplating making peace with my past. After thoughtfully brainstorming this recipe that has in this lifetime created the cyclical dance in the creation of being the girl who was living the embodiment of the victim and the survivor, contrary to my ego, my heart speaks to breaking open, self-reclamation, confidence, self-love, and peace in retrospect of the various ways these ingredients have blended together in my story. Through this inquiry of making peace with my past, this heavy list of experiences created a sense of overwhelm. I set the list aside and quietly, without my normal plea of anxious and frustrated demand, asked for an answer to please allow me to see what my heart needs to know. Last night, in my dream state, I was taken on a journey to not only expose to me 3 places of awareness, but also, to my surprise, showed to me a very different perspective to what my wounded eyes had been perceiving through a wounded and tender heart. What came first? As I currently am closing the door to a nursing career of 25 years, I can clearly see the focus of my dissatisfaction and unhappiness, and the giving of myself in this capacity was only created to survive, to care for others in the assigned role of the caregiver from childhood to be valued, has created for me such a state of resentment, of self-sacrifice over my entire life. Last night, I was shown some of the darkest nursing organizations that I gave my time to, only they weren't dark, depressing, and draining. They appeared to me in what looked like a beautifully abundant places, yet showing me the scenes of interacting with caregiving, but also seeing myself laying clear boundaries with people in which I was interacting. As I reflect upon the years spent in working in these environments, there have been so many gifts and foundations received from this. Being highlighted here was a long-felt journey of understanding, of learning to become the focal point of my own self-nurture, the retraction of the belief I needed to fix another, and the importance of honoring myself with the boundaries I choose to create around my ability to thrive. This was a doorway into the plunge, into the understanding, the work I must do in order to heal myself. What came next was shattering, ego shattering, a space my mind would continue to attempt to protect. Next, the father of my children appeared, my nemesis of the past 25 years. Despite the consistent evaluation, intentional healing effort, and attempt to release a broken marriage that ended 15 years ago in a very violent and painful way, that set the stage for myself to be abandoned, to care for our 2 daughters, detox from alcohol and drugs on my own, and to survive on my own 2 feet. Just a few nights ago, I was awoken in the night in a stir of restlessness. Setting aside my frustration and exhaustion, I sat down to write. What came to me out of nowhere was an angry voice of the victim, the abandoned woman and mother from this marriage, and I allowed her in full rawness to express her anger and pure rage of the things that she had experienced so long ago. Last night, he appeared to me in my dreams as someone I loved, very clearly him, but in a dream state, we were sharing together a very loving and joyful experience. What a shock to open my eyes to the day to feel love for the man that had caused me so much suffering through some very traumatic experiences. But the thing is, we didn't begin that way. There was a time when we did love each other. We came together in our own trauma, resentment, and rage, active addiction, to suppress the pain and suffering from having both been abandoned by our own parents. While this doesn't excuse the events that took place between both of our wounded hearts, I can see our attempt to try to experience love. And out of this was the creation, from pain and suffering, the birth of 2 beautiful daughters that have held the space not only to show me the reflection of my own pain and to love it unconditional, but also to receive the healing and support of unconditional love received from their hearts. In a desperate attempt to release this man with anger, resentment, and rage, the simple solution, and the one that I have been authentically capable of all along, would be to release him with the antidote to that, the love that we did share. The truth is we both came from pain and suffering, broken, dysfunctional home, making peace now with a choice to cut the cords in dissolution of the cycle and to finally see him through the space of a flowing heart. The final presence that appeared was my great-grandfather, a man I never really knew very well. Here I saw him as a very frail old man, yet he appeared to be pleasant with his arms open. Behind this, I know there are stories untold of the pain, suffering, and disempowerment, the ways in which my grandmother endured treatment from him. So we bring this now into my roots, my lineage, my ancestors. My grandmother, who stands as guardian on the other side, always used to say to me, during some of the most chaotic times in my life, I only wish for you to find peace. With the depth of what I know through awakening, I'm sure she was being reflected to the experiences of her own energy within. Being chosen to break ancestral cycles is not a simple task. The underlying message to my inquisition to see what I needed to know was revealed. My great-grandfather smiling with open arms, he was transcended off of this earth back into loving innocence, and that is where he came from. The way back to reclamation of this space is through peace and surrender. Gifted to me through my nursing career, I had the honor and the experience to awaken the gifts of being at bedside in the moments leading up to and the final breath taken in physical death for hundreds of people. I was witness at how the body remains here until that final moment of surrender. Resentment, anger, and discord will not return us back or release us when it's time to move on. Making passage in the portal of death isn't partial to whether this is an experience for our full physical vessel or whether it's come in completion of stored energy or a story to be released and reborn. The only way out is through, and everything that we will ever experience begins with our own beating heart, our sacred source of love. Peace.